What is going on? It is Melkor from MetaBlaze coming to you live here today to talk to you a little bit about Metamines, which is MetaBlaze's inaugural minigame representing the first pillar of the MetaBlaze ecosystem. In this game, you'll be sending your goblins, whether they're MetaGoblins or Goblineers, into different instances or TMOs to excavate Terranzinite, the goblin's coveted and rare resource. Your goal is to pull as many Terranzinite crystals out of the mines as possible and pop them open, which will reveal a crafting material or even MetaBlaze tokens. An instance can contain one of 4 mines, and there can be multiple mines within the instance. So for example, this TMO here, there is 3 iterations, which means 3 different mines. On this TMO, there are 4 iterations, and this TMO, there are 5 iterations. There are 4 different mine types. There is sedimentary, carbon, glacial, and igneous mines. So before we jump into the gameplay, I want to talk to you a little bit about this layout, a little bit how the game is played, and a little bit how to navigate the home screen by going through the UI and explaining some of the elements to it. So to start, we're going to start with the most basic premise of the game, which is you can't go into a mine without some sort of goblin. A goblin is like your player. So let's talk about it. On the left side of the screen here, you'll see your tooltip, and we're going to jump to the Goblin tab. The Goblin tab will summarize all of the goblins in your inventory. Now, this is a test account, so there's a lot of players here. But to break it down a little further, we're going to start with the MetaGoblins. The MetaGoblins are NFTs that were released earlier this year. If you were smart, you got a couple. They can be used in this game. They can be used over and over and over again, depending on the rarity. And we'll determine how many times they can be used before they have to recharge. So for example, over here, Test Goblin 10 is a epic MetaGoblin, which means it can be used 4 times before it has to recharge. And these mystical MetaGoblins, which are more common, can be used twice before they have to recharge. But the real important fact here is that they can be used over and over again. They don't get consumed. You don't lose them. You use them and reuse them. Goblineers, on the other hand, are designed to be a less expensive entry into the game. They can be used once, and then they are lost forever. So if you're not looking to make the full commitment into a MetaGoblin, a Goblineer might be the right choice for you. You'll also notice some indicators at the top of these player cards, which I will get into in a minute. Earlier, I mentioned that there are 4 different mine types: carbon, glacial, igneous, and sedimentary. So right in the top right corner here, you'll see these different symbols which represent different land types. Well, why does a mine type appear on a player card? Well, each one of these Goblineers has a specialty, has a land type that they are extra good at mining. So this Goblineer is good at mining carbon mines, this Goblineer is good at mining glacial mines, this Goblineer is good at mining igneous mines, and this Goblineer is good at mining sedimentary mines. And on our MetaGoblins, you'll see a similar layout. These 2 MetaGoblins are both good at carbon mines, and these 2 MetaGoblins are good at igneous mines. Take a note that even though this is a rarer MetaGoblin, it doesn't mean that it has a focus that gives a bonus to it more than a mystical MetaGoblin. So both Obix and Test Goblin 10 both have an igneous focus. So when you're entering into a mine, if the mine happens to be an igneous mine and you're putting a goblin into that mine with an igneous terrain focus, you'll get a bonus. Bonus towards what? Well, you're kind of competing with other players for your share of the rewards pool. You want to put as much power into this mine as possible. So in addition to putting the right goblin with the right land focus into the mine, you're also going to be committing tokens, MetaBlaze tokens, into that mine as well. Don't worry, those MetaBlaze tokens that you commit will be returned to you, plus your share of the rewards pool. More committed tokens and more aligned focuses, more of the rewards pool heads your way. You'll also notice another indicator on the player cards, which looks like this. These represent tools. Tools are consumables that are used in the mine to give a bonus that improves your chance of getting more of the rewards pool. But MetaGoblins and Goblineers come with what's known as an evergreen tool. It's a tool that never gets consumed. So you might say, wait a minute, if they never get consumed, why would I ever need another tool? Well, let's get into it. You might remember earlier I said that Goblineers can only be used once. So even though, for example, this Goblineer has a drill as an evergreen tool, since it can only be used once, once that Goblineer has been consumed, this tool and the Goblin are lost forever. Whereas a MetaGoblin with the same tool, drill, can be used over and over and over again. This MetaGoblin has a hammer, which can be used over and over and over again. Pickaxe can be used over and over again. Pickaxe can be used over and over and over again. It's interesting to also note here that even though both of these MetaGoblins have igneous as their terrain focus and pickaxe as their tool, it doesn't mean that the pickaxe is necessarily good in the igneous land type. To go into this a little further, we're going to go to the shop. So even though I just described these evergreen tools, there are also tools that you can buy that you can use in a mine that may be better for that mine because your evergreen tool doesn't match the mine type. For example, pickaxes are always used in sedimentary sedimentary mines. Drills are best used in igneous mines. Chisels are best used in glacial mines, and hammers are best used in carbon mines. So interestingly enough, even though the hammer tool is best used in a carbon mine, in our inventory, we might have noticed that our igneous terrain, our igneous mines, MetaGoblins, didn't have that tool. So just because you have one terrain type doesn't mean that the evergreen tool is going to match it. And we can get into a little bit later on as to why that might be important to you as a player when you're making a decision about what to use in each mine. So now that you understand the player types, the MetaGoblins and the Goblineers, and you understand the tools and the land focuses, it's time to just take a quick look at the shop. You'll notice there's a bunch of stuff here we can buy, which is really cool and helps enhance our experience within the game. The Spec Petal tree is used for recharging MetaGoblins who have been expended their Spec Petals. Remember I said earlier that MetaGoblins, although they never die, they never get consumed, they can run out of energy, and you have to wait for them to recharge. Purchasing a Spec Petal tree consumable accelerates that recharge rate and recharges that MetaGoblin so they can be used immediately. Explosive can be used in any mine and can be used at any point in the mine and in any iteration, and will essentially, in effect, increase your piece of the rewards pool. Protective helmets also increase your part of your piece of the rewards pool. However, it is important to note that they can only be applied at the beginning of the game. Game meaning the beginning of the Terranzinite Mining Operation, which means you go through your first mine and you realize you're kind of lacking, and you're like, shoot, I need a bonus here. I've used the right tools. I've got a MetaGoblin that's matching the right terrain focus in the game, but I need more. If you didn't apply this at the beginning, you can't apply it later. Pickaxe, drill, chisel, and hammer can all be applied in each iteration of the Terranzinite Mining Operation. So if you do have a MetaGoblin or a Goblineer that doesn't have the right tool, and you get into that mine and you're in a glacial mine, let's say, and you need a chisel, and your MetaGoblin is equipped with a pickaxe, you can choose to use the chisel. And that will give you the tool bonus, which again increases your multiplier, increases your power, your mining power, and gives you a bigger chunk of the rewards pool. After you come out of the mine, you'll have collected crystals. You'll come down here to the process tab, which we'll save for the end, and you process your crystals and you get your rewards. So they've set me up today with 50 million tokens. So I'm going to spend some money, go to the shop. I'm going to pick up a couple of things. First thing I'm going to do here is pick up a pickaxe at 100 MetaBlaze tokens. Buy that, yoink. I'm also going to pick up a drill at 100 MetaBlaze tokens, yoink. Going to pick up a chisel, and I want to point something out as I'm doing this. Some of these items I already own. So you might be wondering why on earth I would be buying items I already own. And yes, they're consumable, so it might seem kind of obvious that I just want to stock up, but it's not just about stocking up. I don't want to get into an instance. If I get into a TMO, it is random the type of mines that I'll be experiencing. But if I were to experience, for example, 3 carbon mines in a row, and I only have 2 hammers, and my MetaGoblin didn't come equipped with didn't come equipped with, like say for example, I had Obix and I only have a pickaxe, and I get to a glacial mine where a pickaxe does not provide a bonus, I'm gonna be out of luck. So it's important for me to have a balance of different tools. So I see I only have 1 chisel. I have plenty of drills, plenty of pickaxes, a couple of hammers. I'm gonna buy a couple of hammers and a couple more chisels, and then we're gonna get into it. So I'm gonna go hammer, buy, and bought it, and chisel, bought it. Okay, so now that I've explained all that, why don't we play a game? I'm going to go to the TMO. We have 15 seconds to register for this. I'm going to choose a MetaGoblin. I'm going to choose Guck. Why not? pay the fee. By the way, pay no mind to the man in the corner. Pay no mind to the cost you see associated with every operation here. This is in fact a beta test, so even these timelines, the constant refreshing, it's all just designed so that I can operate inside of this game and not have to wait. In reality, these games are going to last very long. They can last 12 hours, they can last 18 hours, they can last 24 hours. And so they're just doing me a favor here. So there is a pretty cool soundtrack. I'm going to kind of keep the volume low so you can hear my sweet, sultry voice. But what you can see here, and I know it because I wrote it, MetaGoblins are landing on the SES moon. They came here on the ship Ambitio from planet Glowzark, and they are here to mine Terranzinite. Now, although these MetaGoblins are all wearing protective helmets, that's an animation. First thing you're going to want to do is check out the mine type. I don't have a lot of time here, so I'm going to talk fast. This is a carbon mine type. I'm going to see that I've got 2.5 minutes here to check in. You'll notice that when you check in, you first have to decide how many tokens you want to commit. More tokens you commit, more mining power you're going to have. You might say, why wouldn't I commit them all? Well, if you commit them all now, you will have less power in the subsequent iterations, so choose wisely. Also, you can play more than one TMO, so you have to decide how many tokens you want to put in. You also don't know how many players you're going up against, so these are not really easy decisions to make just on the fly. It's not just slide the bar to the right, all in, and see what happens. For this operation, I'm going to go, and I'm actually going to manually type in 150,000 tokens. Boom. Now I have 150,000 tokens committed to this mine. Now, please note that even though it says total prize pool 160 tokens, again, that does not have anything to do with the 150,000 I put in, meaning that my 150,000 are not going to be lost. Also, please also keep in mind that I'm the only player in this mine, so some of the math here is not going to make sense. And finally, as I said earlier, this is a demo, so the values really shouldn't be taken to heart. Hit continue, and we have our MetaGoblin entering the mine. You can skip a lot of these animations, but since this is a demo, I really didn't want to do that. Game loads, and we'll see where we go to next. Right at the beginning of this TMO, so before any other mine, I have the only opportunity I'm given the only opportunity I will get to put on protective gear. Well, why not? Put it on, get a little tone that tells me that I have put it on. So you can see here some information and also some options. So we're in a carbon mine, right? And I'm the only player. Game starts in 45 seconds. Prize pool is 160. My tool here, my evergreen tool that never goes away, is a hammer. I do have protective helmet on here. Now, does a hammer work in a carbon mine? Well, let's check it out. Hammer says here, and good in a carbon terrain. So in this case, for this mine, I would actually not use a tool. I would not spend the consumable because I'm already matching the tool that is needed here. Also notice that I've spent the spec pedal to enter into this TMO. So in about 13 seconds, this is going to get started. Remember, this game, each iteration of a TMO, of a Terranzinite Mining Operation or game, can last a really long amount of time. The developers have done us a solid here today and sped up my experience. So here we go. Here's my Goblin with a hammer in hand, and he is going to work. Now, this will literally continue on for 2 minutes and 43 seconds, and there's not much I can do about it. But I do want to note here, as you can see, I have no explosives. If I wanted to buy explosives, I could go back to the shop and go to explosives, buy one. Boom. Go back to the game. Click on TMO. This is the game that I'm in. Continue. It'll reload. Bring me to the summary. Go back into the mine. And now, as you can see, I can use an explosive. So using the explosive, again, as you can see, instantly increases my rewards pool piece. And my MetaGoblin will eventually take the time to place an explosive charge on a Terranzinite crystal node. And eventually it will detonate, and boom, we are done. So this will go on, and we'll go mine after mine after mine. I'm going to use the tooltip back here to go back to the main menu. Go back to the main menu. After the game is over, I'll collect my crystals, which I already have some waiting here. I'll process them, and I will claim them. After 10 seconds, I'm able to claim them. From a previous game, Obviously, this would happen after the game is completed, after all iterations are completed. Hit claim, and your rewards are granted. To see what you've been granted, a menu pops up. It says I got 2 volcanic glass, which are crafting elements. Okay, so now that I've showed you how to claim resources, let's get back to our game. So if I return to the TMO that we were playing, hit continue, it should be just about done. It may have even finished, which should really help me explain something that's really important about MetaMinez, which is you want to be present at each one of these iteration check-ins. That's kind of how you maximize your rewards. If you miss a check-in, or you apply the wrong tool, or you use the wrong MetaGoblin with the wrong land focus, these all work against you and can inhibit your ability to claim your share of the rewards pool. So our MetaGoblin has finished the first mine, and will now move its way to the next mine. Okay, so I'm back, and I brought you back to the main screen. The game is now completed, and I'm ready to claim my rewards. Such an accomplishment this music makes me feel like I've made. Okay, so now it is time to go to the processing part of the UI to see what we have. We have won 1,625 crystals. What you're going to want to do now is process those crystals. Boom. You'll see that I have some crystals here that were from a previous game that were not claimed yet. So when I've done processing these, I'm assuming that it will add to the total amount if I were to refresh the UI. So I guess this is separate based on the game that I finished. So I have 10 to claim here. And I have 10. Oh, wow. I got 10 MetaBlaze tokens and 1 hardened diamond. Okay, and now I have 1,625. These would be from the big game that we just played because I put all those tokens in. Claim, and you can see that we got hardened diamond, volcanic glass, layered stone, frozen silver. All these are shard types, and we got 1,600 MetaBlaze tokens. Again, just to remind everybody, even though it didn't refresh here, all the tokens that I did commit into this game are intended to be returned to you. So now that we're done with that, let's look at our inventory tab. Our inventory tab, we've already gone over all the tools, so you already know what the deal is with those. But now you can see the inventory that I have on hand here for the shards. Since I, Master Storyteller, do have a hand in an input in talking about what these shards are used for, I can tell you that eventually they'll be used in various crafting recipes, and they'll be used to generate all kinds of objects that you might need and will need in other products that are coming down the line. So that's it, guys. That's a real summary of everything that we've seen today. I've taken you through the tooltip. I've explained all of the consumables. I've walked through a little bit of the gameplay. I have showed you how to take advantage of a little bit of strategy and showed you what you were going after. My name is Melkor. I am the Master Storyteller, and I look forward to seeing you in the mines. Take care.